Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. Oh, boy, did Calipari try to stay at Kentucky. And I don't think Mitch Barnhart wanted any part of that.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yeah, he was definitely against it. I think that was actual footage of Mitch when he found out Calipari wanted to stay. Also, we understand that it was a disaster behind the scenes as far as Kentucky over the last many months and really last year or two. And this situation of him possibly wanting to come back, oh man, can you imagine what the Kentucky fan base would have done over that? It would have been awful.
Remain calm! All is well! All is well!
And here you can see in a sea of blue, it says John Calipari reportedly gave Kentucky a chance to keep him. They balked big time. I showed you the video. Said Calipari did meet with two UK administrators at his house yesterday. Sources told CBS Sports. This is from Matt Norlander. Said one source briefed on those conversations said the messaging from UK's end was clear and that there was no salvaging matters. If ever there was a desire to anyway, time to split. So yeah, he was maybe trying to back out a little bit with it. Well, maybe not back out the Arkansas deal, but to see if Kentucky would offer him some more money to stay, which you want to talk about not being able to read the room. Did he not see the celebrations and the parties out in the streets? God, talking about tone deaf. And this was yesterday, 24 hours ago? So there's a lot of chatter out there that maybe Calipari is trying to find a way to stay. It sounds insane, I know, but that is making its way around the UK world, and it sure was. It says, I have nothing from the school, but this is picking up steam and some messaging coming from Calipari-related sources. Said it would explain why we have heard nothing and the public appearance today with no comment, stay tuned. And that was him walking the dog and didn't say a word. And Sea of Blue also talked about how that he had already breached the contract when he talked to Arkansas. So Kentucky might have been setting up to say, look, we can fire you right now. We don't owe you $33 million if you try to come back. And here it was one of their updates says, well, this is weird. Kentucky Sports Radio reports that as of Tuesday morning, John Calipari still has not notified UK of his talks with Arkansas. He said, this is officially weird. Said Pete Thamel just reported on SportsCenter that Arkansas hiring John Calipari will be announced Tuesday. So for now, crisis averted. Now I need a drink. And he brought up the fact, he said, remember when we thought Mark Stoops was going to Texas A&M? And that looked like that was a done deal. Well, it wasn't. And of course, Stoops stayed at Kentucky. So there might have been some deja vu in Kentucky land. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've watched enough of Kentucky Sports Radio, read enough of Sea of Blue. There was nobody in the media that wanted him back. And I don't think there was anybody in the fan base hardly that wanted him back, except maybe somebody he's related to or something. And it's not that he's a bad coach. It's just his time was over there. It was over. And he has finally officially come out and announced that he's leaving. And as you can see, somebody put in his yard, thank you, Cal. We love you. Goodbye. And this was him yesterday walking his, I think he was walking his dog. Yeah, he was walking his dog, had it in a stroller. And he didn't say a word about it. They asked him and he just said, no comment, really.
Hey, Coach, you got anything you want to say to your fans or anything? Anything right now? You want to say anything to your fans right now?
I'm good. Come on, Paul. Come on. My dog is walking me. Come on.
And this is on a website, Kentucky Wildcats by Alex Weber. Said Kentucky Insider details disaster behind the scenes of the John Calipari move. It said Matt Jones unloaded on the disaster behind the scenes that had happened over several years. Said the operation had become completely disorganized, disconnected. Said KSR host went in depth on some of the issues plaguing Calipari in the 20s when the team's performance experienced a sharp decline. It was a disaster behind the scenes, said Matt Jones. On KSR, explained how the relationships between Cal and those around the program had deteriorated. He said Calipari for the people at UK became impossible to work with. He said that's why people connected to him left. He was just too much. I think they still loved him. He's not a bad person, but he became too much. He said there was some departures that were really a problem. Former assistant coach Kenny Payne, former assistant coach John Robick, and former deputy director Dwayne Peavy. He said each of those three people complemented a part of Calipari's profile as a coach. He said whether that be smoothing relationships between Cal and AD Mitch Barnhart, Peavy, handling player relationships, Payne, or X's and O's coaching, which was Robick. He said many of these people left actually for less money. He said Calipari wanted to prove everybody wrong by doing it his way. And he wanted to win doing it his way. He didn't want to make changes. And of course, Barnhart, when he met with him, was talking about he had to make changes to his philosophy. He didn't want to do that. He thought he had the winning edge and wouldn't accept what's happened over the last 5 years. And I've been around people like that, especially when they're in position of power. And even if it's right in their face that it's not working, they don't care. They would rather fail doing it their way than to make a change and be successful, because that's just how some folks get. It's partly ego. Some of it is just being stuck in your ways. And you know, a guy's like 65 years old, he probably doesn't want to change a whole lot. But the game's changing. And Jones said, we don't know the juicy details yet. He said there are some stories underneath the surface from Calipari and Kentucky hoops recently that were hardly believable. All of this is going to come out. You can count on it over the next 30, 60, 90 days. There are a lot of people over at Kentucky that want to talk. They've been putting up with this crap for a long time, and they can't wait to tell folks what they've been dealing with over there. It sounds like it was pretty ugly, and you could definitely sense it, especially after the Oakland game. You know, you would have expected some of the folks in the media to kind of have his back a little bit. They wanted him gone. They were done with him, and nobody from Kentucky came out and backed him. There was none of that whatsoever. There was no putting out fires. They just let him roar. They didn't care. And when he stayed or said he was staying, they'd had the meeting with Mitch. It wasn't like, hey, that's great. It was like, oh, crap. Another year of this. $33 million owed. I guess we got to. And that's really the sense you got. You didn't hear anybody happy about it. And I don't even think Calipari was happy about it, because I think he finally realized, I guess that was the discussions with Arkansas, they didn't want him there anymore, and that's tough. You know, when you're somebody that went through a streak where he was loved at Kentucky to the point they gave him a lifetime contract, and then suddenly they don't want you anymore, that sucks. And I think it finally hit him after that Oakland game of, oh, crap, man, these people don't want me here anymore. Maybe I should talk to Arkansas, which he did. Once he did that, this thing was over. He breached the contract. He was supposed to let Kentucky know, hey, I'm talking to folks. He didn't do that. So really, he might as well have left right then and there, especially under the circumstances, because Kentucky wasn't going to look past that. So be looking for those stories. They're going to be coming out, and we're going to find out all about it. Now, as far as a coaching search, there's several coaches out there that have already turned them down, and we kind of figured that would happen. Dan Hurley up at Connecticut, obviously, after winning his second national title, he wasn't going anywhere. Of course, he's making a ton of money there, and his wife's very happy as far as where they're located. And he said, I don't want to get a divorce right now that I'm making a lot of money. So he was a no. Nate Oates confirmed he's staying at Alabama. He's not going anywhere. That was a great choice. I said yesterday in a video, he does not need to leave Alabama.
Stay as long as you can. For the love of God, cherish it.
Jennifer, why don't you?
And go up to that pressure cooker, because Kentucky expects you to win right away and win at the highest level. They're not going to be happy with Sweet 16, out in the second round, anything like that. You need to make the Final Four or better. And that's the life of a Kentucky fan. Anything short of that, and they're unhappy. Now, there's some coaches out there that I think Billy Donovan would be a great hire for them, and I kind of feel like that's probably where they're going to go. And I think the Kentucky fan base would be happy with that. He's won 2 national titles at Florida. He was an assistant coach at Kentucky. He's now the Chicago Bulls head coach. They're kind of middling. You know, they're like a 500 ball club, and they're going to have to wait like a week in order to be able to do anything with him, because he's like in that play-in situation. I think they're like 37-40 at Chicago. So they're probably going to get in the playoffs, but I doubt they'll last very long. So they may have to wait at least a week to be able to find out if Billy Donovan's going to come over there. And I don't think Chicago's going to mind, because he hadn't been wearing it out anyway. I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. Rick Pitino is a possibility, but man, he's getting up there. He's getting long in the tooth. And, you know, Pitino should have never left. He should have stayed right where he was at. He'd have won a couple of more titles there and should have stayed, but he didn't. I just think he's too old, honestly. And Donovan's like in his 50s. So that would be ideal. There's been a lot of talk about Scott Drew at Baylor. That would be a disappointing hire for Kentucky, even though he is a very good coach and he's won a natty. I just don't think they want that guy. They're not inspired by him, and the Kentucky fan base would probably be pretty disappointed. So that would be a choice after everybody else has kind of turned them down. And then Bruce Pearl is a possibility. I don't think they want to hire Bruce Pearl, even though I think he would be a good hire, and I think he would take the job. He's probably their 6th or 7th choice. And I just don't think they feel like he fits their narrative or whatever. And that's that whole blue blood thing. I like Bruce Pearl. So I think he'd be a good hire, but I'd rather he not be there, honestly, as a UT fan. I'd rather they hire somebody else. But, you know, if they hire him, so be it. We'll just have to that's going to be tough. I don't want him at Kentucky, actually. I take that. I do not want him at Kentucky. I'm going to state that clearly. So there's a lot going on right now, but obviously he's going to Arkansas, and they've accepted his resignation or whatever, and it's time to move on. But it has been super interesting to see that he almost didn't want to go, and he tried to put a feeler out of, hey, maybe could I stay? They're like, absolutely not. Get out. And we'll see who they end up hiring. They may have to wait a while. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big college stories. And I'm gonna be looking to see what all the behind the scenes stuff is. That interests me a lot. And if you want to keep up with that, hit this little button right here. It's the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a dime, and it would help me out. I would appreciate it.
Come on. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, sure.
And right over here is most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.